Hey, okay, good afternoon, everybody. And can you allow me to share the slides, Suzette?
Oh, I have to give you permission.
Suzette, can you allow me to share the slide?
I already gave you permission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay. Remember that we were talking about the financial criteria this week on Monday. We have been talking too much on the net present value and soil expectation value because they are the most often used financial criteria at stand level management as well as at forest level management that we will be concentrating on the other course, forest resource management. So the financial criteria that we were talking about are net present value, the internal rate of return, benefit cost ratio, soil expectation value or land expectation value, or it's called the Faustman formula. And then there are two to go annual equivalent cost. And there is also one that we'll talk about, and we will finish up this topic today. Remember that when we are talking about land expectation value, it has a certain connotation or meaning in using financial analysis. It allows us to be able to evaluate financial and the management alternatives with the different rotation periods. Okay, whereas we can use the net present value criteria to be able to compare alternatives with the fixed rotation period. So that was the differences between the land expectation or soil expectation value and net present value. So just going on example, we have given many examples, but just give you one more example, the last example that we'll talk about, and we'll use soil expectation value and to make the decision regarding the finding the optimal rotation period. Okay. So here is an example. Given that a woodland company would like to plant a land, the information is given below on a table, and we are asked to calculate the land expectation value of a teak plantation. Okay, a teak is a fast-growing tree. Okay, these are the prescriptions or the silviculture operations on the left-hand side. In the first column over here, as you can see, there is a planting right at the beginning. It costs 3,500. There is a pre-commercial thinning, costs $960 per hectare, applied at the age of 3 years. And there are a number of thinnings, okay, first thinning, second thinning, and third thinning. There are three sequences of thinnings, okay, occurring at the ages of 6, 10, and 15. And there is also final harvesting at the age of 25. These are the associated revenues coming from each silviculture operations or the costs. Okay, and let's calculate the soil expectation value. As you can remember, first we have to just calculate the future value of each of the silviculture operations and then discount it today, okay, using the soil expectation value formula. Okay. For instance, how we calculate the future value, as you can see on the column of K25, as you can see on this one, okay, we have to make sure or be able to find out the age to go to the end of rotation period, starting from the operation of the silviculture treatment. For instance, take a look at the first thinning. The first thinning happens at the age of 6. Okay, how many years to go to the end of 25 years? So 25 minus 6 equals to 19. So we have to get the future value of first thinning over 19 years. Okay. So let's take a look at, for instance, one value from here. Okay. Which one is this one? Okay, this is the last one. Anyway, so we can just even go to the Excel file. Okay. Somewhere over here we can do it together. Okay. And take one example from there and do it together, and then the rest are going to be done similarly. Take a look at, as we said, okay, first thing, how we calculated the K25 value, okay, K25. So the interest rate is 5%. Okay, let's put it over here. Okay. The revenue that comes from first thing is 1,500. Okay. The age that is required to reach to the end of rotation period is 19. Remember that's 25. 25 minus 6, which is 19. So we'll calculate the future value, okay, of first thinning, okay, or the value that comes from the first thinning. Okay, equals to the revenue multiplied by 1 plus interest rate to the power of years to go. Okay, that is okay. Okay, 3,790, as you can see over here, exactly right. Okay, we can do it for the final harvesting, and then that's it. Okay, for the final harvesting, the revenue is 85,500. Okay, 85,500. Interest rate is the same. The number of years to go is 0. Okay, now is the future value of fine harvesting is 85,500. Okay, so if we sum up all this together, we can get it from here and paste it over here. Okay. These are the costs and revenues, and we'll sum up in order to get the net future value. Okay. Let's see whether we have made the right calculation. Yes, it is 105,199. That was the net revenue. That is the income minus the cost in the future. Okay. Then we have to just find out the soil expectation value. Okay. Okay, the soil expectation value is calculated, as you remember, is that, okay, the total, the future value, net value, that means the revenue minus cost, okay, divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power of 25 over here, the rotation period 25 minus 1. Okay, we have to make sure that it is within the parentheses. Okay, you can see it from here, right? Okay. Okay, so it is $44,083 per hectare. This is how we calculate the soil expectation value. So again, we'll give another example, and we will try to use development of yield for a stand. That means the per hectare standing volume or yield is going to be calculated over a number of years, and we will use soil expectation value to calculate to arrive at the optimal rotation period, or to decide the optimal rotation period. Given this example, okay, what is the example? The example says that we'll apply a static treatment regime. The static treatment regime is the same set of treatment regime. and find out the optimal rotation age. This is the problem. How can we find the optimal rotation age given a certain set of treatment regime, silvicultural operations? We'll assume that the regime is to plant or regen and clear cut in the future. The regeneration cost is 400 hectares to get the stand fully established at the age of 0. Okay. So the treatment is to regenerate with a certain regeneration cost. That means with plantation, regenerate with plantation. The stumpage price is $190 per cubic meter for all the products that will come from the stand. The real interest rate 5%, and whereas to find out the optimal rotation age. Okay. So the volume is given for us. The development of the volume is, as you can see over here, it is given. I will show it to you over here with this example. This is the example that we're going to talk about. Okay, just only concentrate on these two columns, A and B. So we're going to calculate the rest. Okay, A and B. A, the column A shows the development of age starting from 15, 20 and goes up to 100. Okay, age of 100. And this is the amount of volume or yield that will occur at a certain age, okay, given by a certain growth and yield curve or the equation, okay. So these are given, okay, these are given to us. Or an equation would be given us in order to develop the or calculate the amount of volume or yield per hectare at a certain age. Okay, so these are the amount of yields. Okay, just resize these. There are lots of. Okay. Okay. Make it a little bit simpler the numbers. Okay. Okay. So we know that the stumpage price is $190, as you can see in this cell C2, and discount rate is 5%. Regeneration cost is 400. Okay, these are the given values, and these two columns are also given. That means the yield curve is given for us for this stand. Okay, assume that there is a stand. Whatever the stand is, the pine stand or spruce stand or fir stand, okay? So the stand grows according to this curve, and the stumpage price is given, is a fixed stumpage price, okay? Discount rate is also fixed, 5%, and there is a regeneration cost. The sequence of treatment is that we're going to just harvest, clear cut, and then regenerate with plantation. Okay, that is the set of treatment that will be applied over and over. Okay, over every other rotation, assuming that the rotation age is this. Okay, we'll assume that each age is a rotation age. Okay, so what happens when we calculate the soil expectation value, assuming that the age is this rotation age is 15. Okay. So first we have to calculate the value. Okay, so erase those values, those cells, and we'll just calculate. Okay, so the value, that means economic value or selling value given the rate of stumpage price. Okay, stumpage price is 190. We'll make it static. Multiply by the amount of volume per hectare that comes from the column of B. Okay, multiply by that one, the unit price, and we'll come and we'll copy and paste to the other cells. Okay. So column C shows the amount of financial value that will be generated at the end of the associated year. where we will assume that these years are going to be as a potential years to be at our rotation age. Okay, then we'll just calculate the net present value. Okay, net present value. How can we calculate the net present value of each volume, each rotation age? Okay, we'll do it together. Okay, so erase those columns for a second for you to be able to see it. Okay, remember that we could use any of the formulas over here, right? Either we could use the soil expectation value as net present value multiplied by 1 plus I to the R divided by 1 plus R I to the R minus 1. Or instead of net present value 1 plus I to the R, we could use net revenue, okay? Net revenue. Okay? Both have the same result. Here we'll, for the ease of calculation, or to be able to trace how we arrived at the soil expectation value given a certain interest rate, we'll calculate the first the net present value and multiply by this discount factor and divide it by discount factor minus 1. We'll get the soil expectation value together. Okay, net present value equals to volume. Okay. Okay. Make sure that okay.
Professor, may I ask before you continue?
Okay.
If we got a case where the stumpage price is provided, does it mean we must always divide it the price by the volume? Like
we are not dividing. Okay, we're multiplying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. It's not always the case. If we got the stumpage price, that does it mean that we must always multiply it to the volume?
Of course, yeah. In order to find out the total selling prices per hectare. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
This is okay. We all. Okay. So we were talking about net present value. Okay, so we will just erase these values and do it together. Okay, net present value is calculated like the total value multiplied by 1 plus interest rate, okay, to the power of the associated age, assuming that the age becomes a potential rotation period. Okay, this is the net present value. However, we have to just subtract the cost, okay, which is $400. Okay, we'll just fix it this one. $400, because this happens at the beginning. Okay, so we were able to just calculate the net present value. Okay, we will copy and paste to the rest. Okay. Why? Because we were unable to. We have to fix this one. Okay. Now do it. Okay. To make sure that we have got the same result, take a look at. Okay. Now this value. Net present value is 67. Okay, it's not. Okay, something is wrong. J4 1 plus A2 minus A2. Something wrong. Sorry. Okay, we made a mistake in calculating. Nobody reminded me. Okay. Okay, net present value, the total value divided by 1 plus interest rate, okay, to the power of rotation period minus the stumpage price. Fix it and fix it. Okay. Okay. So this is the same thing. So the calculation seems to be all right. So we were able to calculate the net present value. Okay. Remember this formula on the left-hand side you can see. So we'll be using the soil expectation value formula. First, we're calculating net present value for each H being a rotation period. And then we'll calculate the soil expectation value. Okay. So we'll just erase this one. Okay, now we'll calculate the soil expectation value. Okay, how? Okay, so equals to net present value. Okay, multiply by 1 plus interest rate to the power of stand age rotation period. Okay, and we'll have to make sure that this is taken into parentheses, and we'll have to divide by 1 plus interest rate, fix this one, to the power of rotation period minus 1. Okay. Make sure this is also fixed. This is not fixed. There are two fixed ones. Okay. Okay, let's make sure that we did not make a mistake. Okay. Okay, it seems okay. We'll just copy and paste it to the rest. Okay. Okay. As you can see, the calculation seems to be all right. Okay. So if you take a look at the ones that I underlined over here, okay, we were able to calculate the soil expectation value of 10 developing based on a given yield curve. And also we assume that each age would become a potential rotation period. Then we are asked to find out the optimal rotation period. Which year seems to be the optimal rotation period? Would anybody see it from this column of AE that shows the soil expectation value with 5% interest rate? What is the optimal age? So we were able to calculate soil expectation value. So what then? Did we calculate for the sake of calculation? Of course not. Okay. So we have to make a decision. So as we promised that these means the soil expectation and net present value, these are the financial criteria that allows us to be able to make the decision. So our decision is to make the to be able to find the optimal rotation period. So we did all this calculation for what? To make the decision. So what is the optimal rotation period for this stand, given the 5% interest rate and given just only cut plant and cut plant and cut plant? Anybody?
45.
45. Okay, let's see 45. Let's highlight 45 on here with a red one. Okay, as you can see, you're right. At the age of 45, we have got the highest soil expectation value. Remember that we are looking for the highest net present value and highest internal rate of return, benefit cost ratio, and at the same time soil expectation value, which corresponds to the age of 45, which is 1227 soil expectation value. The rest are lower than that. So that is the reason we were able to just spot it at 45. So the next thing is that, okay, remember that this is given the interest rate of 5. If we were to increase or decrease or change the interest rate, would you think that the optimal rotation age will change? Okay, let's answer that question, okay? So we have got the same set of equations, but this time we have only changed from the discount rate from 5% to 4%, okay? 4% over here. Let's take a look at 4%. No, this is okay. 4%. All the calculation is the same. Okay, these are the results. So this is the result of 4%. Okay, according to the discount rate of 4, okay, which age would be the optimal rotation period? Or you could just do this one, okay? Mark. So 2285, which is this one, right? So still 45 years, okay. So given the change of discount rate from 5% to 4%, still 45, the year of 45 becomes the optimal rotation age. Okay, let's increase to 6%, okay, 4, 5, and 6%. What happens, okay? 6% over here. You can just try to just keep track of the calculation, okay? The same set of calculations, same yield curve, everything is the same, just only we have just changed the discount rate from 4 or 5% to 6%. So here is the result, okay? Then we say that we will take a look at the maximum soil expectation value. Okay, becomes 645. Okay, 645, which is this, okay? As you can see, which becomes 40 years, right? We increased the interest rate to 6%, and the highest soil expectation value, okay, occurs at the age of 40, okay, just one period earlier. 5, if we assume that the 5 years is the period length, okay. So what happens to further increasing of interest rate? Okay, we increase the interest rate to 7% over here, okay, 7%. What happens? See, okay, these are the values, soil expectation values, and make sure that we are able to find the maximum value, MAC. Okay, ensure that we are able to find it. 294 occurs at the age of 40. Okay. So if we carry all of this together, okay, as you can see over here, okay, 5%, 4%, 6%, and 7%. We could do the 8%. Let's see, okay, for the sake of calculation, not 7, 8. What happens? Okay, 8. Okay, still the 40 years. 9%. Let's see what this time is still 70, but it's changed to 35. Okay, 35. That is Okay, over here. $35. Remember that at this age, still the soil expectation value is still minus, okay, negative. Remember, can we choose this year 35 as a rotation age? No, because both the net present value and the soil expectation value are negative. Remember that we were talking about the net present value. Okay. Where is it? Remember over here, if the net present value is greater than 0, it is financially viable or profitable. If it is less than 0, it is not financially viable. So net present value becomes negative, although we are able to see that the rotation period becomes shorter and shorter as we increase the interest rate, but it is at the certain threshold, okay, where soil expectation value and net present value becomes negative, then we do not choose because they are not profitable, they are not feasible, okay? So we don't just go for the sake of increasing the soil expectation value. For the sake of that one, we are not able to, we would not choose the associated age as a rotation period. So come back to over here, the total values I have copied down to over here into the PowerPoint presentation over here. Okay. Okay. Here is the summary of the rotation periods for each discount rate. Something not 5% over here. Okay, this is the one that I wanted to show. Okay. So as you can see over here, rotation period becomes 45 when we have the discount rate of 5% and 4%, and if we decrease the rotation period from 4, 5 to 6, 7, the rotation period becomes shorter. Okay, so what can we take from this exercise? Okay, what is the take-home message from here? If we were to, okay, decrease the discount rate, what happens? Okay, let's come over here. Instead of 4, let's say 1%. What happens? Okay, what? 3%. We did not 3%. Okay, right? We did not 3%. Okay, with the 3% of interest rate, what is the rotation period? For the soil expectation value, the maximum soil expectation value is 4,429. Okay, which is this one. That means 55. Okay, the age of 55. Okay. If we decrease to 2%, okay, let's see what happens. Okay, 97, which is 60 years. Okay, as you can see, 60 years. At 2%, this is 3%. Okay. So what can we take as a message, okay, from this exercise? Is that if we increase the discount rate, the rotation period will decrease. Conversely, if we decrease the interest rate or discount rate, the rotation period is going to be longer. Okay, so the decision of finding the best rotation period is very dependent on the discount rate that we use. Okay, as you can see, we did not change other values. Okay, the stand grows to the same development pattern or the yield curve. So we did not change the price at all. We did not change the cost of plantation at the beginning. Nothing has changed, but we have only changed the discount rate in order to see the effects to the rotation period. So we can conclude simply that as we increase the discount rate, the rotation period will decrease, okay, will be shortened. And conversely, if we decrease, okay, the discount rate, the rotation period will be lengthened. Okay, so the rotation period will be longer. Okay, this is the dynamic of the effect of discount rate on the selection of rotation period. Okay, any questions? So we'll finish that subject and then we'll just keep going. So there are two criteria that are sometimes used to make a decision, okay? One of them is annual equivalent cost, or is called as equal annual equivalent. That refers to the net revenue or cost that someone can obtain or will occur annually over the life of investment, okay? So if we have the annual net income, okay, somehow calculated, okay, or expected, we could just calculate the equal annual equivalent in order to be able to compare the options to the ones that we are looking for. So this means equal annual equivalent financial criteria provides us the annual amount of net revenue, okay, so that we can just compare the other options based on a yearly incomes. So given the discount rate that was applied, so of course this will be associated with a certain discount rate. So the annual cost of owning, operating, and maintaining an asset over its entire life. So we could just evaluate with that one. What is the advantage? The advantage is that we can evaluate investments that have different time horizons. So assuming that there are options, option 1, 2, 3, 4, each involves in a different time period. One involves over a time of 40 years, second is 50 years, third is 60 years, and so it goes so on and so forth. And we can scale down everything with the equal annual equivalent to a yearly basis so that we can just compare the options. Remember that we cannot compare the options where they have different rotation periods unless we use, for instance, soil expectation value, because it is it can be used to be able to standardize, and we could use equal annual equivalent that shows us the yearly net revenue. Okay. So the condition, it accepts projects that yield a positive equal annual equivalent or annual equivalent cost. So the criteria is that we are looking for positive values. Here is the formula, okay? Net present value, we know how to calculate as we did in calculating soil expectation value. Net present value, okay, in a big parenthesis, I interest rate multiplied by 1 plus I to the power of n, all divided by 1 plus I to the power of n rotation period, or the time horizon we're looking for, minus 1. So this is the simple formula that we'll use in to calculate the annual equivalent cost. Okay, example. Okay. So we are given 100 hectares of bare land. Let me start with 0H. To evaluate for a number of investment options. Okay. So in our case, for the simplicity of the example, we are given two options. Option 1, we're saying that the land would be planted with pine trees that can be harvested at the age of 50. and $250 per hectare is spent for site preparation, seedlings, and plantation. All the costs associated with plantation is equal to $250 per hectare. What is the earning? The revenue that comes from the harvesting at the age of 50 is equal to $7,116 per hectare in 50 years. And the interest rate is 5.5%. This is the option one, the contents of option one. As for the option two, we could just grow soybeans on the land, okay? Forget about the forestry operations, okay? So we could do the agriculture operations, see what happens. Okay? We could compare the forestry operations with respect to soybeans. Remember that soybeans happens on an annual basis, whereas in terms of forestry activities, as we can see in this option one, the time horizon, the production time is 50 years. So 50 years with respect to 1 year. So how can we compare these two options having different years, time horizon? So we could immediately remember that we could use either soil expectation value, or we could use annual equivalent cost. So we'll use equal annual equivalent. So how about the contents of the option two? Okay, so for not to forget to talk about the option two. Yes, for the option two, we will grow soybeans, planted and harvested each year. Annual total cost is $228 per hectare, and annual revenue is $234 per hectare. If we subtract from each other, we can even simply calculate the net return as $6 per hectare per year. So it is easy that we are able to find out the net return from allocating the land exactly for growing soybeans. That is $6 per hectare per year. So we do not have that value in option one. So we'll have to calculate the annual equivalent cost of option one in order to be able to arrive at a yearly net income, so that we can just compare. So the formula was, okay, we could just bring the formula over here, in order to see it. Okay. Where did it go? Okay. So this is the formula, and we'll use this formula in order to calculate the yearly flow. Option one, first, we have the net present value. As you can see over here, we know how to calculate, okay? Their total revenue, 7,116, okay, divided by 1 plus to the interest rate of 5.5% to the power of rotation period, which is 50. And we have to subtract the initial cost of plantation, which is 250. That equals to $239.34 per hectare. We forgot over here, dollar per hectare. So then we'll have to calculate the annual equivalent cost, which is based on this formula, okay? That is equal to the net present value, which is 239 over here, you can see. 239, okay, multiplied by interest rate, 0.055, multiplied by 1 plus interest rate to the power of 50, and all divided by 1 plus interest rate 5.5% to the power of 50 minus 1. All this equal to 14.14. Okay. So how can we make the decisions? Okay. So the first option provides us net annual. Now we can say per hectare. This is per, we have to say this one per hectare per year. Okay. In order to compare with the second option, $14.14 per hectare per year for the option one. For the option two, it is $6 per hectare per year over here. Okay, $6. So it is very clear that we will choose option 1, because option 2 provides $6, option 1 provides $14.14. So the decision is that we will go with option number 1. Okay, any question on that?
Professor,
Yeah.
is net return the same as net present value? Like the same
No,
exactly?
it is not the same. Okay. Net present value, the discounted value of the revenue minus the cost. Okay. That is discounted. You have to make sure that this is not net revenue, because net present revenue, okay, that is discounted, as we can see, discounted today, as you can see over here. Okay. Any other question? We could calculate and just take a break. I think it's time to take a break, but we will do the calculation together if you wish in Excel. Okay, the interest rate is 5.5%. Okay, the income is 7,116. The cost is 250. The year is, the rotation period is 50. So we'll calculate the first net present value, which is the total revenue. Okay, divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power of 50 years minus the cost. So 239, which is the same thing, right? As you can see, 239. This is net present value. Okay, 239. As you can see, it is the same thing. So then the next step is to calculate annual equivalent cost. This is the way I just put it anyway. So we will do it together. Okay, net present value, which is this one. Okay. Okay. Multiply by parenthesis interest rate, which is 5%, and multiply by 1 plus interest rate to the power of 50. Okay, as you can follow from here, and we have to just close the parenthesis. Okay, and we have to make sure that we just take into parenthesis this all values together and divide by, now take the parenthesis, 1 plus interest rate to the power of 50 minus 1. Hope we are able to get it. Okay, 14.40. Okay, we were able to type exactly the formula. Okay. So we were able to just use another financial criterion, which is the annual equivalent. And we were able to compare options on a yearly basis. That is the difference. That is the advantage of using this financial criterion. Okay. Okay, we'll take 15-minute break and we'll come back after 15 minutes. If you do not have any question, if you have questions, just let me know right away. Any questions? Okay, we shall stop at this point for 15 minutes of break and we'll come back.
Okay.
Let me see. Okay, we shall start after a long break. Let me share the screen. Okay.
Here we are ready in the classroom.
Ready?
Yeah, we were just chatting.
Okay. Okay. Make sure that our voice is okay over there.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, Suzette. So we're talking about financial criteria that we use in financial analysis, and one of them was equivalent. We used we illustrated with an example. We were able to just compare the yearly investments. Okay, let's take a look at the relationship between those financial criteria. Okay. In this graph, as you can see, this one shows the interest rate. Okay, the x-axis shows the interest rate. The y-axis shows the net present value.
You are not sharing. You are
Oh, okay.
sharing the screen.
I did not share it.
No.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that. Share the screen. Nobody shouted me anyway. Now you can see, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, the criteria that we have used or showed there are some relationships among them. So I wanted to show you graphically the relationships so that you can just grasp the similarities and differences among them easily. Okay, the x-axis shows the interest rate. As you can see, start from 0 goes up to 10 over here, 12, 13, whatever. Y-axis on the left-hand side shows the net present value, starting from -1 to +1. The y-axis on the right-hand side shows the benefit cost ratio. And two graphs are the flow of the net present value and benefit cost ratio. Okay. So, and the dashed line, this straight line shows the internal rate of return. As you can see, okay, if net present value becomes 0, okay, okay, then the internal rate of return, okay, crosses with the net present value and benefit and cost ratio, okay, over here. Benefit and cost ratio. So becomes 1. Benefit and cost ratio becomes 1 at the intersection of net present value and the benefit cost ratio. Okay. If we move the internal rate of return towards right, okay, if the internal rate of return increases, okay, then the net present value becomes negative and benefit cost ratio becomes also less than 1. Okay. Benefit, remember that benefit and cost ratio does not become negative. The scale that we use, the threshold we use for the benefit cost ratio is 1. Okay, if it is greater than 1, the feasible region. If it is less than 1, in terms of benefit and cost ratio, it is infeasible. Similarly, if net present value becomes negative, it is infeasible. If it becomes positive, it is feasible. Okay. So we know that the internal rate of return occurs at when the net present value becomes 0. Okay. When net present value becomes 0. Okay. As you can see on the x-axis over here, this is where it shows the 0 value of net present value, where it corresponds with the internal rate of return as 7% over here. Okay. If we increase the internal rate of return, net present value becomes negative and benefit cost ratio becomes less than 1. So this shows the relationships among the financial criteria that we use. Okay, so also they are mathematically related, as you can see over here. So there are some additional examples that you can see, and that I have sent this slide to you. You have got this slide. You can just take a look at all these additional examples, very simple examples, how they are just calculated, how they means the financial criteria, present net value, soil expectation value, benefit cost ratio, okay, internal rate of return, okay. So these are given, an annual equivalent annual cost. Also, there are some examples you can take a look at. Okay, there is also recovery period, which is the last one in the list that we can just talk about. Recovery period refers to the to the value of present net value. Okay, if the present value is greater than 0, as you can remember, it is acceptable, the feasible region. If it is less than 0, which is not acceptable region, okay? So where the net present value, if the net present value becomes 0, okay, the corresponding age becomes the recovery period, okay? The corresponding age becomes the recovery period. Okay. For this example, okay, so the net present value is being calculated as K0, okay, for this exercise, saying that, okay, there is an eucalyptus regeneration costs €40 per hectare. There is a revenue from the first harvesting at the age of 8, returning €47 per hectare. There's a revenue from second harvesting at the age of 16 years, which returns us €73 per hectare. Interest rate is 6. Given this condition, okay, what would be the recovery period? Okay, recovery period means that the net present value becomes positive, okay, starting from positive, that means 0, okay, and onwards, okay. So at the age of 0, okay, it is, of course, as you can see, there is only regeneration cost, which is minus 14. At the age of 8, where we have to just calculate the future value of regeneration cost and discount it to the present value, and at the same time, take a look at the net present value of first harvesting at the age of 8. Altogether will become minus 11. K0, that means net present value at the age of 8 becomes minus 11. So the net present value at the age of 16 becomes positive, okay? Become positive as it 18, okay? So then we just call that age 16 is the recovery period for this problem, okay? Just a matter of calculating net present values for a given problem and analyzing by looking at the net present values at different ages, okay? If we see the negative values of net present value, they are not acceptable, as you can see in our region. As we see that net present value becomes positive, okay, that means that the investment is started to recover. Okay, that is the reason we call that the corresponding period, or as an age, okay, becomes the recovery period for the investment. Okay, we can try this once. Okay, so there is another example as well. Okay, so final remarks on the financial analysis criteria. So we would ask question to ourselves, okay, are we able to identify all physical flows, the amount of revenue and cost on a given time? So we would also ask ourselves, okay, are the prices used appropriate? The current prices, constant prices, relative values, okay? So in those exercises or examples that we used, we just have taken the interest rates, current prices, the yield as a value, okay, as a given values, okay, given number. So we would just go back to the problem and try to evaluate, analyze whether the prices are appropriate, okay, whether the yield curve represent the exact development of stand. Just a second. Okay. So we would also ask whether the discount rate is appropriate given the given the inflation, and at the same time the nominal interest rate based on the risk and uncertainties. So these are the things that we should ask ourselves in evaluating any investment with respect to the financial criteria that we use. So we would, of course, in terms of, for the sake of this class, you would just be given the problem, and within the problem, the prices, discount rate, and planning horizon are all given to you. But in reality, you will be able to just go to the field and make the measurements, take a look at the values, and go to the market and take a look at the different inflation rates that are given by different banks, different investment organizations, and from this the free market. Okay, you should be able to just evaluate the appropriate the various interest rates that are used in various investment groups, and pick up the ones that is appropriate for your investment. So these are the questions that we should be able to ask ourselves in making the financial analysis. Okay, that is the end of talking about the financial criteria.
And in check, you have some questions in the chat.
Okay, let me check. Okay. Yes, the recovery period is when the net present value becomes positive. Okay, zero means also acceptable because it is the threshold where the company starts to make profit. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the example over here. Okay, can you see the example on the left hand side? Okay, over here. So we will calculate the net present value at age 0, 8, and 16. Okay, as you can see on the right hand side over here. Okay, age 0, 8, and 16. So this is the problem, and there is an investment. Then we do the investment. Okay, so we'll take a look at the various time period where, and in order to follow the nature of the investment with the financial criteria of net present value. Okay, how the net present value changes over time. As you can see in this exercise, okay, so at the time of 0, there is only regeneration cost. Okay. Okay, at age, that's over here. Okay, put it over here. Age 0, 8, and 16. At the age of 0, there is also the cost, which is minus 40, right? $40 per hectare. There is no income at the age of 0, because it should take 8 years at least to have harvest. Okay, some revenue from the first harvest. Okay, at the age of 8, okay, we could just do the calculation of the future value and the present value too. Okay, so the future value is just $48, and we could discount it to the today. Okay, so at the age of 8, Okay, we could calculate the net present value. Okay, net present value over here. Not you're able to see it. Okay, net present value. We will calculate for at the age of 8, the income is 47. Okay, $47 divided by 1 plus interest rate, which is 6%, okay, to the power of 8 years. Okay, to the power of 8 minus the cost. Okay, the cost, which is $40. Okay, which is 10 minus 10.5, right? The net present value at age 8 is still minus. So age 8 cannot be the recovery period. Okay, still we have to just go further in order to be able to find the period where the net present value becomes positive. Let's take a look at the year 18. Okay, so year 18. So we have done over here for the 18. So we have to just calculate the future values, okay, of the costs and all the associated. Okay, let's take a look at the future values. That is what we mean by K16, future value of cost, which is equal to this equation, A127, which is $40, okay, over here. Regeneration cost, okay, with the interest rate, we just try to find out the future value of the cost, okay. Future value of the first harvesting, that is the 74, okay. Future value of 47 euro, that comes from the revenue from 8 years, okay. And the future value of 73, which is 73, okay, if we just sum up, okay, revenue and subtract the cost from the revenue, it becomes 46. And then we can calculate net present value for, this is the future value. Net present value is this, okay. So this is equal to the future value divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power of 16, which is 18. You see, given this formula, okay, the net present value was negative at the age of 0, negative at the age of 8, but positive at the age of 16. Thus, we call the age of 16 as the recovery period. Okay. Okay. Cut and paste it over here in order to see. Okay. Yeah, are you able to see then? Hope you were able to get the answer. Let me see if there are any. Okay, there is one. Okay, no. Is there any further questions? Okay. Okay, this is the way we calculate the recovery period. It's easy. The way that we calculated the net present value, okay, for a given investment. Okay, the investment means it's just happening at a various time period. Okay, we make sure that if there are silviculture operations occurring at different time, we have to just first calculate the future value in order to equate to the same time period, and then discount it to the present value. Okay, then try to find out the net present value and evaluate the net present value. Okay, but if it is positive, then it is that corresponding age becomes the recovery period. Okay, we will close this topic. Any question further? No. Okay, somebody has to explain again. Explain the recovery period, I think. That missed with the recovery period. Well, okay. So we have been doing this one over and over again. Okay, for instance, let me just draw a line over here. Okay, this is our time period. Okay. 0, 8, and 18. Okay. Age 0. Age 8. Age 18. 16. Okay. So somebody is asking why we are just first calculating the future value and then the present value. Okay. We know that at the age of 0, but oops. Okay, at the age of 8, we have got first harvest that provide us 47 euro, whatever dollar per hectare. At the age of 16, we've got 73 euro per hectare. At the age of 0, we have got $40, okay, per hectare, okay, which is the plantation cost. That is minus 40, right? You can see it from here. In order to be able to find the appropriate age, the age where the net present value is positive, then we have to just calculate the net present value at the age of 0, at the age of 8, at the age of 16, okay, to be able to compare it. At the age of 0, which is minus 40, right? There is no revenue at all. Okay, there is no revenue. So at the age of 16, okay, I was just trying to show it to you, okay? At the age of 16, we have to just calculate the net present value, okay? So we have to discount the net present values, okay? 73 to today, 47 to today, okay? In order to be the same thing, okay, we could just take the future value of this 40 over how many years? 18 years to the future and discount it to today, which becomes the same thing, right? Okay. So we'll do this same thing for the first harvesting at the age of 8, which provides us 47 euro per hectare. Okay. So we'll just have the future value over 8 years. So we'll calculate the future values of every other silviculture actions. Okay, the values that comes from each silviculture action to the same year, and then sum up the revenues, sum up the costs. Okay, subtract the cost from the revenue at the age of 16, and then discount it to today, okay, to be able to equalize for every other actions, okay. You could do it a different way, okay, no problem. So that is the reason we were able to just calculate. We had to calculate the net present value, the future value first, and then net present value. You could do one by one, okay. You could, so you know that the present value for plantation is -40. You can calculate the present value of first, okay, and the present value of this one, okay, net present value, no problem. You could arrive at the same solution. Yes, exactly. Okay. Okay. Well, okay, we'll stop at this point. As I said, we'll just go back to the other slide that we will talk about today, given the time availability. Okay. So decision analysis, okay, in a single stage, okay, single even stance. Okay, all we are trying to, what we are trying to come up in this course is that to find out the appropriate treatment regimes and to find out the appropriate rotation period for a given stand. Remember that we are all talking about stand level management, not a forest level management where we talk about in the other course. The solution of a stand level management planning that spans the simultaneous optimization of regeneration, thinning, whether it's the first, second, third, or whatever, fourth thinning, at the same time clear cutting or harvesting at the end of rotation periods. So we have to take a look at all together and make the decisions. And the number of strategies is typically very large, okay? And in terms of financial assessment, okay, it is also, the number of strategies are also large. So then we need to take a look at the financial assessment. So then we may need to use some numerical approaches, okay, in order to be able to evaluate a large number of options. Okay, so we'll talk about so there are different tools or methods that are used to be able to compare the different alternatives in order to make the stand level management decisions. Okay, remember that decisions relate to the finding out the best treatment regime, okay, among many alternatives, and try to find out the optimal rotation period. So just focus on two different decisions, okay, two important and two different decisions. So all we are focusing in this class, more or less, to be able to find the appropriate management regime, okay, and the appropriate rotation period. Management regime refers to a set of silviculture operations, okay, starting from plantation, pre-commercial thinning, thinning first, thinning second, thinning third, whatever, okay. So we need to, so if you think about, okay, there are a number of options, okay. So one option would be, okay, just regenerate and harvest. Second option would be regenerate, pre-commercial thin harvest. Or another option would be, okay, third option, regenerate, pre-commercial thin and first harvest, commercial harvest and clear cut. And another option would be, okay, to regenerate with plantation, do pre-commercial thinning, first thinning, second thinning, third thinning, and final harvest. Or you can just pick up any other silviculture set of operations, okay? So as you can see, there are a number of alternatives that we may need some decision-making tools or techniques in order to be able to evaluate more options, alternatives, and come up with the best results, okay? As we have seen, so there are some financial criteria that we have seen that we could use in financial analysis as present net value, internal rate of return, benefit cost ratio, soil expectation value. So these are the ones that we talked about. There is one decision-making tool, which is called dynamic programming simulation, and there are others as well. We will be using dynamic programming from this point on in order to make decisions related to finding out the best treatment regimes and the appropriate rotation periods. So management decisions at stand levels are important elements in nature resource management, okay? But we have to make sure that the stand level management, we will just be finding the appropriate set of treatment regime and the best rotation period at the stand level. But this does not mean that the treatment regime that we found or the rotation period we decided as an optimal one does not mean that those are valid at the forest level, okay? Again, the stand level management options may not be considered by the forest level plan, as this may conflict with the forest-wide objectives, okay? Because forests may be composed of a number of different stands, okay? So just summing up the stand level management to arrive at the forest level, okay, does not correspond to the best result at the forest level. We'll see in the other course that forest level management decision requires different techniques to be used in order to find out, because there are a number of stands and each stand require different set of management operations or alternatives or silviculture operations. So decision analysis starts with, let's say, the current situation, and there would be some alternatives saying that, okay, S1 start refers to the let's say the soil expectation value at the time of 0. Okay, this then would go through a number of management alternatives. Okay, management alternatives 1, alternative 2, alternative 3. Okay, still the alternative 1 would just go with the other alternatives, okay, labeled as RA1, RA2, that would just go. So as you can see, the management alternatives, okay, becomes very complex, okay? Just an alternative stems from different alternatives, and it becomes a complex and large problem to solve with the available criteria that we use. We may need to use or consult any other decision-making techniques, such as dynamic programming we will talk about, okay? Here, okay, as we talked about, okay, two things that we will decide: first, the best treatment regime and the appropriate rotation period. So what do we mean by rotation period? Because there are different definitions of different nature of rotation periods, and we'll illustrate in a moment, okay? So we have some time. So biological rotations, okay, you would say the age that corresponds to the maximum and average annual yield, okay? That is called the biological rotation. Okay, we'll illustrate in a moment. In terms of financial analysis or economic point of view, there are basically two types of rotation periods. The first one is a financial maturity, the age that the stand reaches to a financial maturity. So are harvesting at the age of the time that maximizes the net present value. Okay, remember that we were able to do an exercises, so we were able to find out the appropriate rotation period where it maximizes the rotation period, the net present value, sorry. So the age that maximizes the net present value is called the rotation period with the financial maturity, okay? So this other one is the land value. So harvesting at the age that maximizes net present value corresponding to a planning horizon that extends in perpetuity, okay? In the second type of rotation period, we look for soil expectation value, okay? In the first one, we look for the maximum value of net present value. In the second rotation period, okay, we look for the maximum soil expectation value. You remember the differences between the net present value and the soil expectation value? Okay, one includes only the certain, one means net present value, looks for the financial return for a fixed rotation period, not beyond that, whereas soil expectation value, okay, perpetuates the net present value over a number of rotation periods, okay? Also, it includes land and plantation capital opportunity cost. Okay, some comments. Biological rotations is greater than financial maturity rotation, and that is greater than the soil expectation value rotations, okay? So the higher the interest rate, remember, the lower the rotation. We have with an example, as we increase the interest rate from 3% to 7-8% rotation period, it becomes longer. As we decrease the interest rates, the rotation period becomes shorter. So the higher the interest rate, the lower the rotation period. Similarly, the greater the opportunity cost, the lower the rotation, okay? The greater the opportunity cost, the lower the rotation. So in order to calculate different options or alternatives, okay, this is a simple flow. Okay, first we have to calculate the present value of given management alternatives for a current stand and compute the soil expectation value associated with management alternatives for future rotations. Remember that soil expectation value refers to the future rotation we call, okay? Whereas net present value just is associated with a fixed rotation, first one rotation period. Then we'll determine the maximum soil expectation value among alternatives, okay? And that will become our VMS, or the maximum S, okay? The value of maximum S, which is soil expectation value. And then we'll compute the prescriptions net present value and plus the maximum value that becomes from the alternatives, and we'll have to discount it, and then compute the maximum value that is equal to the present value plus discounted the maximum value that will give us the value for a given management options. So we'll do this one for a number of options that are to be evaluated and decide which options is best, okay? Okay, here is an example. Okay, given a 60-year-old stand, okay, these are the options. There are two options, okay? An option refers to a set of silvicultural treatments, okay? Option or management alternative, okay? So management alternative one, okay, is designed to have the regeneration at the age of 0 with a net return of $14 per hectare, which is the cost, as you can see. Okay, the future value at the age of 80, because the alternative one is designed to harvest the stand over 80 years of rotation, okay? This is one option. So we'd like to, for instance, manage the stand with 80 years of rotation, whereas the second option, okay, refers to an idea that we will manage the stand over 60 years of rotation. Okay, so the first one, okay, is meant, the first alternative is designed to manage the forest over 80 years of rotation. Second is designed to manage the forest over 60 years of rotation. Remember, since there are two options involving different time horizon, we have to use the soil expectation value to compare them. Okay. Okay, the interest rate is 4% and Stan is at the age of 60. Okay. So remember this one. Okay, let's draw the picture. This is a time period. Okay, this is the age. Okay, this is the age of 60. Okay, we would either with the alternative 2, okay, manage the stand with the 60 years of rotation or 80 years of rotation. Okay, so since the rotation periods are different, we have to normalize it. Okay, so what would be the present value? Okay, if we were to just manage the stand according to alternative 1. Okay, so we know the alternative 1 provides us the final harvest at the age of 80, 651. So we have to discount it to 60 years of this value. Okay, because from 6 years to 80 years, there is nothing else, okay, to be applied. But assuming that the stand is to be harvested at the age of 80, okay, so this is the value that we will get, 651 euro per hectare. So there is 20 years that we have to discount it back in order to equate these two alternatives, normalize two alternatives together. So the present value becomes 297. Okay, that is how this is calculated. 651 divided by 1 plus I, which is 4%, okay, to the power of 20, which is 20, and it becomes 297. Okay, for the second option, it's already 456. Okay, the value at the age of 6, which is the current age. Okay, we know that present value for option 1 is 297. Present value of option number 2 is 456. Okay, so we will then calculate the soil expectation value given the silviculture operation for each one of them. Okay, so S1 refers to soil expectation value for alternative 1. Okay, as you can see over here, the future values are calculated first. Remember that we did this one a number of exercises. Okay, we have to just calculate first the future value of each silviculture operations by the age of the rotation period, which is over 80 over here. If we were to just calculate the future value for regeneration, it becomes 323. For thinning, 420. For second thinning, 1,195. For the final harvesting is 651. Okay, because it occurs at the age of 80. So it's going to be same. Net return is going to be same with the future value. Okay, then we'll have to just sum up. That means we have to just subtract the cost from the revenue and get the net return and discounted it to today. As you can see over here, okay, by one by one. S1, which is soil expectation value for the alternative 1, which is assumed that the rotation period is going to be 80 years. So minus 323 plus 420 plus 1,195 plus 651. So this is going to be net revenue divided by 1 plus I to the power of 80 minus 1, because soil expectation value, because periodic perpetual series, it becomes 88. So if you were to just manage this stand over 80 years of rotation, the soil expectation value is going to be 88 for option 1. For option 2, okay, similarly, regeneration, the future value of regeneration, okay, is 147. Because at the age of 60 right now, not 80 over here, same set of, almost you can see the same set of silviculture operations, okay, providing the same revenue or cost, but the first one goes over 80 years, the second option goes over 60 years. Okay, so we'll calculate the S2, which is soil expectation value, as the sum of the income minus the cost. This becomes the first part of the equation, minus 147 plus 192 plus 545, 546, divided by 1 plus I to the power of 60 this time, not 80, minus 1. So the soil expectation value becomes 110. So which is the maximum one? So S2 provides the maximum one. This becomes the maximum soil expectation value. Then, since the stand is at the age of 60, we know that the present value at the age of 60 for the option 1 is 297. And for the second option is for the 456, we'll have to just sum the maximum value, okay? So for the alternative 1, present value plus the maximum value, that we have to just discount the maximum value, okay, to the 20 years back in order to be equal to the 60 years. So 297, which is this one, for the option 1, that is the present value, plus the discounted value of the maximum soil expectation value, which was 110. So 110 discounted to 20 years. This becomes 297 plus 50, 347. For the second option, because it is 60 years old, I have the discount. So it is 456 plus 110. Okay, 110. This becomes 564. Okay, so which option to choose? Okay, is the second option. Okay, that means we will manage the stand of 60 years old with the 60 years of rotation. Okay, that gives us better results in terms of soil expectation value. Okay. So comparing alternative 2, A2 means alternative 2, with the alternative 1 refers to the alternative 1. Okay. So this provides us far better soil expectation value, present value, than the alternative 1, which provides 347. Okay. Okay, any question on that? So this is the way we just use the financial criteria to compare alternatives. Okay. So we are just coming to a point where we will be using, okay, how we are going to use the decision criteria or any other tools to make stand level management. What we mean by stand level management, what we are required to find out is to find out the appropriate set of management alternatives, management regime, and try to find out the optimal rotation. Okay, so we talked about different aspects in order to have a good handle on, okay, what we mean by a tree, by what we mean by a stand, what we mean by a forest. Okay, just remember that we will be making a stand level management, not a tree, not a forest level management. This is the reason why I showed this slide for you. Okay, so so what are the basic concepts? Okay, optimization or simulation of management actions, it refers to the projection of a stand or forest through time, given a predefined set of management actions. Okay. What do we mean by an optimization or a simulation? Okay. Of management action is that the projection of a stand will project the stand over time with a given set of management actions. Okay. How the management develops over time, given a set of management actions. Okay. This is what it means when we say optimizing, simulating a stand. Okay. When we say simulating a stand over time, we mean that we will let the stand grow over time based on a number of predefined silviculture operations or actions, okay, like regenerate plus thin plus clear cut. Okay, this is a set of management interventions. It becomes a management regime. Okay, altogether we call management regime. Okay, so as we said, okay, the management, the decisions at whether it is at the stem level or at the forest level is not an easy one. Is a bit complex because economic, ecologic, and social criteria are involved. So then it becomes a complex problem. So we then just encounter with a number of options. Okay. So there are too many important goals to consider simultaneously, okay, like returning on investments, habitat quality, jobs, and any other things. So management objectives are too many. So then we need to use tools, okay, decision-making tools to be able to evaluate and just select the best option that allows us to maximize or minimize the objectives. Okay, many choices exist, as I said, so we need to select the optimal one among them. So then we need to have a handle on management decision-making tools or techniques. Basically, as I said, also I will highlight again, two problems that we are going to encounter in terms of stand level management. Estimation of the optimal timber rotation, which is what we call rotation problem. Estimation or projection of the optimal treatment regime, okay. That we will cleaning problem or treatment problem. So basically, if we are able to find out an optimal rotation, given a problem definition, and the optimal set of flow of thinning activities, okay, then we are able to just find out best stand level management option, okay. So two decisions are waiting for us to make, okay. Okay, as I said, okay, what do we mean by a rotation period, okay? So are there different rotation periods, as I indicated a while ago? Okay, let's go over quickly over the rotation periods, and we'll, as soon as we are done, we'll finish this course today. And then when we come on next week, we'll talk about dynamic programming from that on, and we'll use the dynamic programming in order to make these two, make decision on these two problems, okay? So let's clarify what we mean by rotation period. So there are different types of rotation period. The first one is the physical rotation, okay? That refers to the lifespan of a species, okay? Saying that if for instance, eucalyptus tree, okay, lives over, let's say 50 years, that the 50 years becomes the biological rotation or physical rotation. If, let's say, spruce lives on 400 years, then 400 years becomes the physical rotation age. So the physical rotation age refers to the lifespan. We don't usually, in terms of management problem, we don't usually refer to the physical rotation age or called biological rotation age. That is the technical rotation age that we are involved in, okay? What does that mean, okay? Is the length of the time required to grow a stand of trees to certain dimension or size to best meet the needs of various commercial markets, okay? If the market is looking for saw timber, okay, we have to take a look at like, what is the age where the stand, okay, comes and provides us the size, enough size of trees in order to meet the need for saw timber, okay, sawmill timber, okay. If the management objective is to prepare or is to provide materials for pulp and paper, which doesn't require, which the size is not important, okay, then we take a look at the maximum amount of volume that we can get from the stand or from the forest, okay. So that age becomes the technical rotation age. So technical rotation age is determined based on the management objectives, where it is related to the size of the materials, the trees, okay, the dimension or the size. Silviculture rotation age refers to the age where maximum seed production is obtained, okay. So there are certain age or time where the trees provide the maximum seed, okay. So this becomes the silviculture rotation age, where we do not really focus on this one. That is the biological rotation age, okay, the rotation age that provides the maximum volume production, okay, maximum volume production, okay. You do not confuse with the physical rotation age, where I said, okay, some researchers call the natural lifespan or natural time for a lifespan becomes the biological rotation age. But in here, where I took it called biological rotation age, becomes the rotation age that provides the maximum volume production, okay. If you take a look at the figures on the right-hand side, or upper right-hand side, the first shows the typical periodic increment over time for a stand, for a given stand. The second curve indicates the mean annual increment. Remember, mean annual increment is the product of dividing the amount of volume at a given age divided by the age, okay. Whereas the periodic annual increment is called mean annual increment, or periodic annual increment refers to the increment, total increment at a certain time period, where the mean annual increment refers to the amount of volume divided by the age that amount of volume is obtained. So the cross section, okay, the point where they cross each other, where they means the periodic annual increment, mean annual increment, this age becomes the age where the stand maximizes the amount of volume produced, regardless of the size, okay. So we are not looking the size over here. Size is not a problem over here, just the mass amount of volume. If we are looking for, if you have the objective, for instance, for pulp and paper, you're looking for the maximum amount of production. This is the rotation period that you're looking for. So in terms of, for instance, income generating rotation period. Okay, over here, another rotation period called forest rent is the rotation period that produces the highest average income. That income determined by dividing potential harvest volume in each time period by the age of the stand. Okay. Still, this is called the income generating rotation period, okay, which is calculated by dividing the potential harvest revenue. It's not the amount of volume, the revenue, that means the financial return. That means the amount of volume multiplied by the unit prices divided by the period at the age where the revenue is calculated. Okay. This is the picture that illustrates this rotation period. Okay. This is manually mean annual increment. This is the amount of volume multiplied by the total harvest. Okay. Okay. This is, for instance, the maximum revenue, okay, revenue that we could get with respect to the age, okay. So this age becomes the rotation age in terms of revenue generated with respect to the age period. Okay, sorry about the time is already up. We have just stopped at this point because the next course is going to start within 10 minutes or so. Sorry, we'll just continue from this point on. Okay, we'll just describe various rotation periods, and then we'll just keep going from that point on next week. So we'll stop at this point. Okay, if you don't have any question, if you have any questions, I am over here. I would be happy to answer. As I promised, we'll just continue on next week with the topic that we have not finished as of now. The rotation period, different types of rotation periods. We'll talk about those things. We'll go over it and then introduce you the concept of dynamic programming, which is the essence of this course. Okay, I'll stop and leave the program right now.
I mean, we have a question here in the classroom.
Okay.
Come here closer to the-
Listening?
Hi, Emin.
Yep.
In one slide, you mentioned that biological rotation is more than the financial maturity rotation.
Longer than.
Yeah. Why is that so?
Because biological rotation, okay, refers to the lifespan, okay, and then the maximum harvest, the age at where the maximum, the highest average income occurs, okay. Now remember where was this one? Okay, okay, this is the one, right? This is the one that you were asking, okay? Biological rotations is greater than financial rotation, okay? Financial maturity, okay, is related with a certain interest rate. So as remember that as soon as an interest rate is involved, and then the rotation period is going to change, okay? As we increase the rotation period, it will shorten, okay? So then that is the reason why biological rotation is greater than the financial maturity or the soil expectation value. Okay.
But you said that biological rotation is the one where the mean annual increment is the maximum. So if that is so, then like why is there a difference? Like what is the correlation with finance? Because like at highest increment, highest mean annual increment, even the financial return for timber extraction should be the highest, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that, okay, depending on the size of the trees, okay, the size of the trees, okay, the size of trees increases over time, and then the financial return is okay. Let's see. Well, so because the time is up, I will just explain that one later on. Okay, just keep that your question. I will explain that one in the next time. Okay, so in order not to confuse it, I'll respond to that one later on. Okay.
Okay.
That was a good question. I will explain then. Okay, reason later on. Because I'm just hurrying up, so I don't want to miss up.
We have to change the rules actually.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll keep that question.
You are done in here in this class? We are done in here?
Yeah, I'm done.
So I will stop the recording and
Okay.
I need to change classroom because we need to change classroom. So I will disconnect from here and reconnect again.
we can